Spellbound, Chapter 3. The Stop was a cookie cult, a commune outside town that sold gourmet cookies online. Hey, if you're going to have a house filled with young women, you might as well get them bacon. The de facto leader, Alistair Copper, was Jenny's father. He'd taken her before Jenny was born, only learning he had a daughter and granddaughter when he came home to set up his commune. The real force behind the place was Megan, a former Wall Street Joan who'd seen a much better entrepreneurial future with Alistair running the cookie business while he played therapist and commune leader. It was neither Alistair nor Megan who brought me back now. My witch hunter had become a commune girl to get access to the community and killed Cody's wife, Tiffany. Then she discovered there was a second witch in town in need of killing, namely me. I come by yesterday to confront the girl Amy, but she already moved out. While I was certain Amy was a fake name, there's often some truth in a false identity. It makes the lies easier to pull off. So I wanted to see Amy's application. Yet I knew better than to waltz up to the door and ask. Yesterday, Alistair had run me off. Megan could be a little more reasonable if it was in her best interest, but I wasn't taking the chance. Considering it was 10 in the morning, a break-in required fitness, or a distraction, I used Adam again. If you want to distract a household of young women, nothing quite does the trick like a hot guy. Forgetting something, he handed me a set of lock picks as I climbed out along the roadside. You're going to need these. Right. Do you remember how to use them? He got us in an eye roll for that. In other words, no you don't. You weren't paying attention when Lucas taught you, because you have your unlocked spell. He turned off the engine. Let's switch. You can distract the girls while I'm the one who's had the grand tour, including Alistair's office, and I might be out of practice, but I do remember how to pick a lock. Adam hesitated. He hated to suggest that I was less than competent without my spells, so I set out for the house before he could stop me. I honestly thought I remembered how to use the locks, but Adam knows me well. As with the self-defense lessons, I barely listened to Lucas' tutorials because I figured I didn't need them. After 5 minutes of fussing with the side door lock, I jingled the handle in frustration and discovered it had been left open. You lost your spell, Savannah, I muttered to myself. Not your brains. I slipped inside. I was at the far end of the house away from the kitchen and front rooms, where I could hear girls giggling as Adam held court. I crept to the closed office door, then stopped and listened. Inside it was silent. My kingdom for a sensing spell. Scratch that. From now on I needed to be really careful what I wished for and what I offered in return. I wonder how someone without a sensing spell ensured a room was empty. I had no idea. I never foreseen a time when I needed to do it any other way. I rapped at the office door, strained to hear any sound, ready to sprint if I did. Yes, I felt ridiculous, like a 5-year-old playing Nicky Nine Doors, knocking on the door and running away. It worked though. When no one answered, I turned the knob, only to discover that I did need the lock set. Damn. Luckily, it was just your standing home door lock, easily thwarted by anyone with a paperclip. Once inside, I locked the door behind me. My goal was in plain sight, the filing cabinet. Now I just had to hope they kept paper copies of their admission forms. They didn't. Or so it seemed as I leafed through sparse files of packaging, mock-ups, and media pieces. Then I spotted a second, smaller filing cabinet, one with an electric lock. Admission forms hardly seemed to require such security. But Alistair, who also was a therapist, in a place like this, attracted girls with problems. However, Alistair's faults, he seemed to take that aspect of his role seriously, so I wouldn't be surprised if application forms were locked away, along with counseling notes. The problem was the lock. It was a combination. and I didn't have a hope in hell of figuring it out on the next few minutes. I tugged on the door just in case it wasn't latched. No such luck. As I fiddled with it, footsteps sounded in the hall. I backed myself against the bookshelf. Someone tried the door, and I congratulated myself for having the foresight to lock it behind me. Then, after a test jangle, a key turned in the lock. I quickly cast a cover spell. Only as the last words left my mouth did I remember that it wasn't going to do any good. The door sprung open. In walked a young woman with a blonde ponytail and the kind of Nordic beauty normally seen only in skin card aids. Megan. When her gaze fell on me, I stiffened, but her brows only lifted in the barest expression of surprise. I began. Savannah, she said. I expected I'd find you in here. Tossing a good-looking guy in the front door, about as obvious as dangling a stake over the wall to distract the guard dogs. It works. Only on the bitches who'll stop. She picked up a pair of scissors from the desk. When my hands flew up, she shook her head. Stabbing really isn't my style, a sly smile. Not from the front anyway. I need these to open a delivery box. She glanced at the file cabinet, the top drawer not quite closed. I presume you're still interested in Amy. I never trusted her. It was Alistair who insisted we let her in. Damage, he said. Plain damage, I said. She looked at me. She picked a very convenient time to leave, didn't she? I suspect that means she had something to do with what happened. The murders. You were investigating. You came asking about her. The two cannot be unconnected. You won't find her files in the cabinet. We keep the girl's records a little more secure than that. Her gaze shifted to the locked one, then lifted to mine. Do you know how much our cookies cost? Your cookies? 99 cents a dozen. We're avoiding breaking that $10 mark. Obviously, a small thing, but important for marketing purposes. At the door, she turned. A word of advice, Savannah. If you're breaking into a place and you hear the door opening, you're supposed to hide. She left and closed it carefully behind her. I walked to the lock cabinet and entered 998 on the keypad. The lock whirred and the door popped open. I found Amy's files and got out of here. Abject humiliation didn't set in until I was sitting at the roadside waiting for Adam. I screwed up on the kind of break-in I'd done dozens of times before. The kind of break-in we might need to do again before we caught this witch hunter. I'd been lucky, insanely lucky. The next time I screwed up, we might find ourselves explaining things from a jail cell, or worse. Until I got my spells back, I had to shift into the back seat and let Adam take the wheel. As Adam drove us back to the motel, I read through Amy's application, for future reference only. Adam had already decided we could hold off on following up on the information. First, we needed to fix our power outage. You've got some crazy assassin chick hot on your trail, he said. Hell yes, you need your spells. Getting in touch with the fates isn't easy. We aren't supposed to know anything about them. I only do because Paige took a nosedive through a portal 6 years ago and had to deal with the fates to get back. From that, I knew they made deals, which is why I was sure they were responsible for my situation. The last time, though, the person who actually made the bargain was my mother, so that was whom we had to talk to. Not easy when she's been dead for almost 10 years, but I knew a way. By evening, we were in Seattle, having left my bike in Adam's Jeep at Lucas and Paige's place, then caught a plane from Portland. It's only a 3-hour drive, but both our vehicles were still in rough shape from separate accidents in Columbus. Adam has left his Jeep at his apartment, but he was hoping for Luca's help fixing it, or at least his tools. A drizzling rain started as we drove downtown in a rental car. Enough to be annoying, not enough to actually make a pit stop to buy an umbrella. The people lined up outside the theater weren't happy about the weather either, not when they had another 20 minutes before the doors opened. The Mercury read, world-renowned spiritualist Jamie Vegas, one night only. A banner across it announced that the show was sold out. Jamie always sold out. If she didn't, she'd book herself into a smaller venue the next time. She figured that as long as people knew it wasn't easy getting tickets to her show, they'd keep coming and she'd have a reason to keep touring, which she loved. She walked along the line. When we turned to head into the theater, a middle-aged woman stepped into my path. "The line starts back there," she said, pointing. "No, actually it starts right there," I gestured to the front, "which is where we're going." As I circled past her, Adam whispered, "That's why we're supposed to go to the back door." That makes me feel special. Right now, I really need to feel special. You feel really special when you're fighting a lynch mob without your spells. No, I'll leave that to you. One spark would, and with all that polyester, the whole mob will go up in flames. I walked to the glass doors and peered through. Inside, I could see a few security guards. Adam swung open the door and held it for me. "Hey, Steve," he said to a burly, bald guy. I didn't recognize the guard, let alone know his name. Adam wouldn't say that's why I needed to pay more attention. I pointed out that the guard didn't recognize Adam either. His gaze had gone right to me, and he smiled. "Savannah, right?" he said. I nodded. "I didn't see you guys on the list," Steve said, reaching for a clipboard on the podium. "Rion," I said, "it's a surprise visit." "Sure. I'll buzz Kat and have her take you to Jamie." I could have said that Jamie's assistant really didn't need to be playing God an hour before curtain time, but this was a polite way of saying he needed confirmation before letting us in. A few minutes later, a young woman with a clipboard, earpiece, and cotton candy pink hair zoomed through the auditorium door. "Hey guys," she said, "good to see you. Come on through." We picked our way through a hive of buzzing workers. Kat alternated between barking orders and chatting with us. She knew Jamie had popped down to Portland to see us, so she wasn't surprised to see us here. Actually, Jamie had come to check on me in the hospital and relay her side of the events that had played out in Columbus. My mother had been hunting Leah from the afterlife, with Jamie helping out on his side. Leah had been clever, though, alternating between bodies and keeping Mom and Jamie chasing the other one, while she cozied up to me through Jessie. When we arrived outside Jamie's dressing room, I could faintly hear her voice through the door. A one-sided conversation. That's not surprising for someone who can speak to the dead. Also, not surprising that Jamie opened the door with her cell phone to her ear, pretending to be carrying on a conversation with an actual person. The surprising part was that she was fully dressed, and as it turned out, she was talking to an actual person. "It's Hope," she said to me then. "Can I put you on speaker?" Jamie set the phone down on the table and disappeared behind a screen to dress. If Adam wasn't there, she wouldn't have bothered hiding. Jamie definitely had been one of those high school girls who ducked into a bathroom stall to change for gym. I guard my privacy a little more closely, but if I have Jamie's figure at 47, I might not hide it either. I said hi to Hope Adams. Hope was a friend of ours and an excessive half-demon. Her dad, Lucifer, the Lord Demon of Chaos. "How are you doing?" I asked. Hope was 7 months along with her first child, and the pregnancy hadn't been easy. When she said she was fine, her voice was so weak I could barely make it out over the speaker. "You sound exhausted," I said. "Are you getting enough rest?" "Yes, I just..." A clatter and a weak yelp of Kyle. A male voice growled in the background. "If you're telling them you're fine, then clearly you're not the one who should be making this call." Hope's husband, Carl Marston, of all the werewolves in the American Pet, Carl's the only one who spooks me. But Hope can handle him, and the fact that she only cited his growling told me she was in rough shape. "She's still having the visions," Carl said after he confiscated the phone. "What visions?" I asked. He ignored the question. "I know Elena thinks it's just a difficult pregnancy, but this is more than hormones. Hope isn't sleeping at all. These aren't the nightmares of a stressed pregnant woman. They're visions, and until she figures out what they mean, she's going to keep having them." "An espresso?" Hope did see visions unusually replays of past chaos. What's she seeing? I asked. He hesitated, and I expected him to snap at Jamie to take him off the speaker. Clearly, Jamie already knew what was going on here, and Kyle didn't have time for me right now. He never does. When he did continue, it told me just how worried he was. Flashes of images, the same ones over and over. Wolves, a baby, Jasper, Hag. Okay, I said slowly. Nightmares about wolves and babies when she's pregnant with a werewolf child? Yes, yes. It does sound like pregnancy jitters, but... And dreaming of the cycle who's hell-bent on coming for her if he ever gets out of Cortez Cabo custody. If I was pregnant, I worried about everything that could threaten my child. Jazz is a threat. Which I am well aware. Kyle's tone made me shut my mouth so fast my teeth clicked. She's seen other images too, a little boy, a laboratory, a meeting room filled with young people. Images with no obvious chaotic connection, yet they're scaring her and she doesn't know why. She's seeing you too. Me. Yes, and a sword. She sees Savannah and a glowing sword. That might not be. Jamie's voice came over the rustle of her dressing. She paused and cleared her throat. Could she be seeing Eve? With a sword? I said. Not specifically, Jamie hurried on. Heaven and hell, angels and demons, swords and brimstone, generic afterlife imagery. Anyway, it does seem that Hope's really having visions, Carl. I'm guessing you want me to run this past Eve, and... A rap at the door told Jamie it was time for her hair and makeup. She came out from behind the screen, resplendent in a golden brown dress, and told Carol she'd call him later to discuss it. I said goodbye to Hope, wishing her better dreams, and promised to send some of Paige's sleeping tea.